guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on tanning some rabbit hides. I've got a couple bags here of frozen rabbit hides. I'm not entirely sure how many are actually in here. It's been a while. Every time I've butchered a rabbit, I've always saved the hide because I always wanted to tan hides. So today is the first time I'm going to actually do it, and I thought I'd bring you guys along on my journey. I've researched it quite a bit. I've looked up YouTube videos. I've looked up blogs. I've done some research on how to do it, and there's so many different ways. The way that I'm going to do it is with some aluminum sulfate or alum and some salt. I've seen before that it needs to be non-iodine. So this does not have any iodine in it, so that's what I'm going to be using. But we also have a gallon of water in the bucket. So that's what I'm going to end up doing today, and I hope you enjoy this ride with me. It's going to be a multi-part video because tanning takes quite a few days. I believe the first step, if I have my notes here correctly, first step is going to take from 5 to 7 days, and then you're going to end up taking them out, putting them back in the brine after you flush them, and then put them in for another 7 to 14 days. So this is going to take quite a while. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to make the brine, or the pickling as some people call it, and put the rabbits in there, and then we'll come back. So first off, what I've got here is, like I said, a gallon of water. So for every gallon of water, it's going to be 1 cup of the non-iodinized salt and 1 cup of aluminum sulfate. Now I've got my little mixer here. I didn't want to use anything kitchen related for this, so except for the glass mixing or measuring cup. Glass is easier to clean than plastic, so make sure all of this dissolves very well. And then we're going to add our frozen hides. So I've seen in other videos where people will take frozen hides, or they'll take fresh hides, and they'll use that for pickling. So I'm going to do my frozen hides. I'm not going to de-thaw them. Some people have de-thawed and then threw them into the brine. I'm just going to throw them right in. So when I did save these hides, I did put them inside out, so fur was supposed to be on the inside and all of the flesh was on the outside. So hopefully that stays like that. I will be mixing it twice daily, so once the hides de-thaw, I will make sure to check to see if they are all, like the flesh itself, that part is being exposed to the brine. But for now, just going to add the hides. It looks like there could be 3 to 4 hides in here. So I didn't want to start off with anything too big because I didn't want to overwhelm myself with the first batch. But for now, we're going to let them de-thaw. Like I said, I'm going to be mixing it twice daily. And we are also going to be submerging them completely. So what I did was I took a plate and I put some holes in the plate. That way it'll allow the water to come up through instead of creating any air bubbles or anything like that. So this will make sure that all of the hides stay submerged. So I'll put that down in there, and then I've got a brick that I'm going to submerge them with. All right. So I'm gonna leave that submerged in the brine, and we will come back in 5 to 7 days. So stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back. So today is day 3 of them soaking in the pickle and or brine. I think starting now, I'm just going to stick with pickle for these, for the bath that they're sitting in. But as they had de-thawed and as they had, as I've been moving them around and making sure that the skin gets to all different pieces, I noticed that 2 of my really large rabbit pelts ended up having all of this extra like fatty tissue that was still on it. So what I'm doing is a pre-fleshing, and why I'm doing that, just because it makes sense in my book. I don't know if it's actually the right thing to do, but I mean, everybody does everything differently, so honestly I don't think it really matters. But what I'm doing is I'm removing all of the really thick stuff, and I am giving the pickling a little bit more, or a little bit less to go through to get to the skin, so that way it does its job better. So I'm just going through, thought I'd bring you along and show you that I'm literally just pulling off really big chunks of this fatty tissue that I didn't pull off when I was butchering the rabbit that this belonged to. You gotta be gentle, even if they are older rabbits. You gotta apply that reverse pressure. So see how my thumb is pulling against it? And you can't do long streaks like how I did it, because that's literally how I broke this one here too. But I do have to say, with the alum soak and my experiences so far with it, I have noticed that my hands, I mean, I wash them afterwards because it is a chemical, but my hands get kind of weird, like dried out and whatnot, which makes sense because that's exactly what we're doing with these guys, is we're trying to dry them out. But you should definitely wash your hands after using, or putting your hands in this pickling solution. And if you have any, wear gloves if you don't want to keep washing your hands constantly. But I also had noticed that my little stirring stick was absolute trash. Like, I couldn't get a good stir out of it, I guess is a good way to explain that. It is very flimsy, and I just found it was easier to stir it with my hands because I was able to move them around a little easier. I think these guys are just too heavy. But I've also noticed that with a lot of the fat material, you see how pliable this is compared to this? It's a lot thicker here, so it was probably more difficult because of how much extra fatty tissue was on these hides for me to be able to stir with my stick. But I preferred using my hands, and I got rubber gloves to be able to use it, so that way I don't have to keep washing my hands. I also have noticed that your finger strength is going to improve when trying to pull off all of this. I don't know if it's because I'm doing this a few days earlier than what I said I was going to do it at, but it's hard to pull this off. Like, it's not just slippery, but it's like stuck on there really well. But I ended up getting 4 hides out of those 3 bags. It's 2 young ones and then 2 adults. So this is one of the adults. The other adult I'd already gone through, and his wasn't as bad as this girl's. But because hers was so bad, I thought I would share with you guys what I was doing. But anywho, that's it. I'm gonna keep working on this. Actually, I probably might just leave the rest of this alone. I say that and I'm still going. I just wanted to get the big fatty deposits off so that way the pickle can get into the skin, do its job a little better, closer to the hide, and go from there. But yeah, that's about it. Got most of the fatty deposits off, and yeah, it's very pliable right now versus over here where it's just kind of like thick. All right, back in the brine. I'm gonna continue soaking for, what did I say? Today was day 3. So we're gonna continue soaking for another 2 to 4 days. 2 to 4 days. So let these guys sit in here a little bit longer. And we'll come back to the official fleshing video, even though I've already pulled this much off of 4 hides. So, anywho, for now, I'll see you in a couple days. Hey guys, welcome back. Today is day 8 of the rabbit's first soaks. So these guys have been soaking for 8 days instead of the 5 to 7. But I'm not too worried about it because they need to soak for 7 to 14 days after fleshing these hides. So I'm not too worried about having gone over the first soaking range dates. But right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to wring out, well, not wring, squeeze. You shouldn't wring hides from what I understand. This is what I've been told by doing my researches. Everybody says never wring out hides. You always just squeeze them out. Squeeze them dry. So that's what I'm doing currently. I'm squeezing them so that way I can get working on the second bit of my fleshing adventures. So this is that one hide that I messed up a couple times. There's that spot there, that spot there. This one has not been a fan favorite of being fleshed. Oh, I'm sorry I keep bumping the table. I don't even know what that piece is. Oh, this is probably her dewlap. So one other thing that I'm going to end up doing today, sorry about that, my voice is being weird today, is I'm going to actually be splitting the hides down the center. Some people do it when they're doing their first fleshing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it. And a lot of people that I've seen when they split their hides, I've not seen anybody do it this way, and I'm not sure if there's a rhyme or reason for it. But what people do is they will use scissors to cut down the belly of the hide. What I'm going to end up doing is using an X-Acto knife. Now, I love this little X-Acto knife. Tealstone Homestead. She uses this when she culls her rabbits. So I tried it out myself and I absolutely love it. This X-Acto knife is really easy to use. You unscrew it from the base, pop it forward, and the blade just comes out. You don't need to touch the blade except for when you're installing it, but there's less of a chance you're gonna end up cutting yourself, and I'm prone to cutting myself accidentally. But you just kind of pop it in there, and then you pull down and screw to give it tension so it doesn't spin on you. And then you just tighten it up. And you didn't even need to really touch it except for putting it in place. It's really easy, really simple. Comes with a nice little cover. It has a good ergonomic grip as well. I'm loving this blade. I'm so happy she had mentioned it. I'm going to give her a shout out for that because I never would have thought of using an X-Acto blade, but this thing's amazing. So what I'm going to end up doing is using the X-Acto knife to make the incision from the inside along the bottom, along the belly, just because I've seen when people do with scissors, they'll actually cut the fur as well. And I'm going to try and avoid that. I know it's on the edge of where it's going to be, but I just thought I'd try something new. If you go from the backside with one blade cutting through it, you're less likely to cut through the fur itself. So, sorry the chicks are being a little loud. All right, so I'm going to cut through the fur. And then it just separates the hair. That actually came out better than I thought it would. So I didn't cut any of the hairs along the mid shaft of it, like how scissors might have. I'm just cutting from the skin and pulling the fibers away from each other. And so I'm not damaging the fur at all. Like, that's actually really cool. I'm going to be doing that from now on. There's like no hair loss at all. That's fantastic. I'm happy. And just like that, we have opened up our pelt. So with the way that it's shaped right now, so with the way that this neck piece here is shaped, I think I'm actually going to cut it away because it's not very uniform. And with me having this massive hole right here as well, I'm just going to cut this piece out. Which will also cut the armhole out. So I'm just going to cut a straight cut along that way there. Unfortunately, this is going to be a bit of waste, but for now, I'm going to put it to the side and work on it a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to work on fleshing the rest of this hide here, and then we can put it back into the bath and take a look at the other hides. Somebody was not happy right there. Well, that's as much as I'm going to be able to get off. I managed to rip a couple more holes in it. This thing does not want to stay unholy. But, anywho, so I'm going to put this one back in its bath and then start on the next one. But look at how much more malleable it actually is. It used to be super thick compared to what it is now. So back into the bath for this one. We'll pull out the next one. One thing that I do remember from the first time that I fleshed these guys is my fingernails hurt so bad for the next day. Probably just the rest of the day, but they were killing me. All right. So this is one of the babies, one of the little ones. We're going to cut this one in half as well. Another reason why I'm actually cutting them in half is because I want to actually have a better surface area to work on instead of having it move on me all over the place. So with it being in the tube style that it's now, it kind of still shifts. Like, it's really easy to rotate. Whereas when it was in the when I had it flat, it didn't roll as much. It was easier to maneuver and whatnot. So that's something I noticed that I'm pretty sure is the reason why people cut the furs down the belly before they do their fleshing. So we're going to cut this one like we did the last time. All right, here's the next pelt, significantly smaller because it's a young one. Now we're working on this hide here, and this one fleshed out pretty well last time I was doing it, but I think the edges need a lot more work. But yeah, let me work on this one. I'll show you how it comes out towards the end. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to this cold, wet, dreary day. Great for doing indoor stuff, not for outdoor stuff, but these pelts have been sitting for quite a while, so I need to get them processed a little bit more so that way they can continue on with becoming tan. I'm not sure if it's a bad thing to keep them in the solution for too long, but this is day 14 after I finished fleshing all of them, so we're going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove them from the brine. I'm going to squeeze out all of the liquid that's in there, and then I'm going to actually get rid of this brine. I know sometimes people say that you can actually reuse it, but this one has gotten really gross and nasty, so I'm just going to end up getting rid of it. Plus, when you do get rid of the brine, once you are ready to get rid of them, it's not a good idea to actually like pour it out into an area where your animals can get to it, or it's going to damage any of your plants of any kind. Fortunately for me, I do have a spot on the side of the house that I'm going to actually end up getting rid of the grasses and whatnot that are growing there. I'm going to get rid of those sometime soon. We're doing some renovating around the house, and so this will be a perfect spot for me to dump the brine. So I'm going to squeeze out the hides, I'm going to dump it out, and I will bring you along with the next step. Okay, so we got the hides all squeezed out of the brine, and I've poured out the brine. So next what we're going to do is we are going to swish these around in clean water until the water comes out clearish for the most part. We want to make sure that all of the brine gets rinsed out, all of the dirt that might still be in the hides, because I raise them on tractors, and sometimes just in the culling process they end up getting dirt and blood and whatnot into them. So you want to swish it around as much as you possibly can to rinse it all out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wash them with soap. I've got my body wash here that I'm going to be using for it. And so we're going to wash, rinse, and repeat for all of these guys. I don't know if you can see, but it's really gross. You still got some fur in there, and it's just nasty. So I'm gonna go dump this in the same spot I dumped the other one, because this could also still have some brine left in it, and then just continue on rinsing these pelts out. Good enough. We'll do the wash with the soap now. Alright, so I'm just going to add the soap. They're already a little wet from that last rinse, so I'm just going to add soap. Add a little bit of water and work it all in there. So now I'm going to rinse them off. Okay, so I don't know what happened to the video footage, but after I did the soap, I rinsed them out with the hose, and now I'm laying them to dry. You're supposed to lay them either flat or stretched out. I don't have the means for flat, so I've got the sweater dryer that I've got here, and I've laid them out flat. And as they dry, you want to check it and see if it will start to tear. Not legitimately put a hole in it, but tear the fibers that make up the hide. So I'm going to be checking in on these every so often over the next couple days to see if they've gotten to that spot where they would start to tear the hide and stretch them out and make them bigger than what they are right now. I'm still new at this. I've never done the stretching before. I've never figured out how long it's going to take. It really just depends on your own situation. If you've got airflow going, if you've got it in a warmer area where it's going to evaporate the water a little bit more. But I've got it in my garage. So no airflow. It's not really that warm. It's more just room temperature kind of a thing. But we'll see how this goes, and I'll let you know what happens next. But for now, I've got them laid out on, like I said, the sweater rack here. I've got some paper underneath so that it'll catch any large drips that may happen. But we shouldn't have too much dripping happening. But for now, they're just going to sit there and we'll go from there. All right, guys. So it's been a couple days since we've done the rinsing, the shampooing, and all that cleaning that we did after we had soaked them. And they're already dried for the most part. I have been coming out here every day, sometimes twice a day, trying to catch when I can start breaking the hide, and I found it every once in a while, but then there were some spots that were just a little too hard to get to, on the edges especially. So the edges definitely dried a lot faster than the belly, or actually we cut down the belly, so it's the back. The middle of the hides ended up being wet more than the edges did. And I laid them face down, hopefully to prevent them from dehydrating or drying out faster. That way I can catch it with my busy schedule, so that way I can work at it a little bit here and there. But there were some times where I wasn't so lucky and they ended up drying out completely. Whereas with this one here on the bottom, this one ended up drying out quite a bit. So what happened was last night I ended up putting a damp cloth on the hide side of the pelt, and then I folded it over so that way I can get both sides of it, because the ends themselves were the parts that were really bad, and I couldn't work them. So I wanted to show you, if I can find a good spot, what it looks like when the hide gets ripped. So for here, I don't know if you see that on camera. You see it turn like white. So this is still a little wet. I can feel it right here. You see the white showing up. It's kind of hard to see, but it's definitely something that's looked forward to. As I'm doing this, I'm like looking for more spots where I can see it turn white, and it's not going, I'm not going to lie, it's been a very fun process to go through and find all of the spots that need it to be pulled. So like, see, It's a little rough here, but in the center, it's still, I can still feel it. It's wet, but it's not too bad. On the edges, I'll just have to dampen it a little bit more. That way I can get them to tear for me. Well, not tear completely, but I mean break. So, but all in all, they came out pretty good. I've got this one here. It's all getting fluffier. You can totally tell it's a Rex fur because of how plush it is. And then I've got this one here. She's basically done. You still can hear a crinkle, but I got some more work to do for it. Actually, right here you can see the break, hopefully, turning white. And you don't want to pull too hard, especially on the edges. But you want to pull just enough that you can get it to break. Because I know there's been spots where I've ripped the hides, especially the young ones for sure. They've definitely didn't like being pulled apart on the edges of it. So, oh, that was a good one. I probably should have showed you. So here, check this out. Here's a good spot. There, you see how that breaks? That's what you want. That's what you want to see. So, it's kind of hard to get the edges. There you go. There. I hope you saw that one. But yeah, so that's basically all I've been doing the past couple days is just coming out here, checking on them, wetting the spots that I notice are too dry, and then trying to break the hide in different spots so that way it can become bigger, it can be softer, and easier to work with in the future for when I want to do projects with it. But all in all, it came out really well. You can see this one here has a bunch of fur still coming off of it, especially in the spots where the holes were, but seemed to do pretty well. I love this. I love the coloring on this coat. I kind of hope I can get another coat like this one. You see the black tip steel on this one, or gold tip steel, I mean. Oh, what's that? Oh, hair slippage. I lost some hair there. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully it's close enough to the edge that it won't matter. But yeah, see, it's got some fur still coming off of it. But it's very pretty, very soft too. Actually, I think it might be softer than when it was on the rabbit. But it's definitely a lot more flexible than when it first started drying out. But that's basically all I've got for the rest of this video. I hope you liked it. Leave a comment if you'd like. Tell me if I did something bad. Tell me if I did something good. Tell me any tips and tricks that you guys have learned when you've done tanning rabbit hides. But other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again next time. Bye.